I want to show you this in 1 Kings. 1 Kings chapter 15. On your own time, I really challenge you to read the book of Kings, 1st and 2nd Kings. It's just the chronicle of kings that raise up and it introduces prophets, but it also gives you records of Israel's kingdom. And I want to show you this. 1 Kings chapter 15, verse 25. If you don't have it, you can look on the screen. It says, Naboth, son of Jeroboam, became king over Israel in the 2nd year of Asa, king of Judah. And he reigned over Israel 2 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord. Look at this. Following the ways of his father and committing the same sin his father had caused Israel to commit. Now let's just jump down. I want to just show you how this 1st and 2nd Kings work for those who haven't read these books of the Bible. Let's just hop down to verse 33. It'll almost sound exactly the same, but it's different. It says, in the 3rd year of Asa, king of Judah, Baasha, son of Ahijah, became king of all Israel in Taurus. And he reigned 24 years. Look at this. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, following the ways of Jeroboam and committing the same sin Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. Doesn't that sound like the exact same thing? If we just flip our Bible over just one chapter to 1 Kings chapter 16, and we go down to verse 25, it says, but Amir did evil in the eyes of the Lord and sinned more than all those before him. Please notice how it's getting worse with each generation. Sinned more than all those before him. He followed completely the ways of Jeroboam, son of Nebat, committing the same sin Jeroboam had caused Israel to commit. What we are seeing in this text is that cycles can be generational. King to king, a generational cycle of wickedness. Leader to leader, a generational cycle of wickedness. Father to son, a generational cycle of wickedness. So the enemy is like, okay, there's this cycle that worked on your great, 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 great grandfather. And it's possibly going to work on you too. There was a cycle that worked on your great, 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 great grandmother. And it's possibly going to work on you too. There was a cycle that worked on your mother and your daddy. And it's possibly going to work on you too. See, some of us don't even recognize all of our bloodlines have a certain sin that we're more bent towards. All of them. If you look at your family tree, your family reunion, or research it, you'll notice all of us seem to be bent towards alcoholism. Like everybody in my family gets divorced, just bent towards that. Nobody gets married. They all live together. Nobody in my family, my mama, my grandma, my auntie, my cousins, there's just a certain, like all the men in my family are narcissistic. Just look at it. Ladies don't laugh too much. All the women in my family are narcissistic and crazy and will curse me out in a minute. All of them. All of us waste time on social media. Call mama, she'll tell you, let me call you back, my show on, girl. Y'all don't want to talk to me. It's a bloodline system. The enemy sees, okay, this worked before they got here. There's cycles that existed before you were ever a thought. There's cycles that existed before you could have a goo-goo and gaga. And the enemy knows, if I could introduce that familiar cycle, maybe they'll start on the hamster wheel too. Look at this. This scripture that I told us all throughout this series in Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 17, says, do not be overly wicked. Y'all remember this, right? Do not be overly wicked and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? Listen, this must mean there is an appointed time that you're supposed to die. But due to my wickedness and my foolishness, I died before my time. Is this making sense? I'm preaching like this because real leaders don't look to create followers. I'm trying to emerge more leaders, and more of us need to lead in breaking cycles and lead in bloodline shifting. You're leaders and you're in the house, and I'm trying to tell you it's gonna feel like a lonely road because you're breaking something. Your family won't understand you. It's because you're breaking something. They will call you less. It's because you're breaking something. They will say we didn't raise you like that. I know, I don't want to continue to be raised like that. You're breaking something. And you have to be okay with being the one who's bold enough to say it stops with me. By the power and the blood of Jesus, this is where it stops. I want you to see this chart. I created this chart. I want you to see this. It says, do not be overly wicked and do not be a fool. Why die before your time? Okay? So what this means to me is your life span is going in this whole continued pattern. Now, in your life, you have decisions. You make decisions here, here, and here, and you're going to continue to make decisions, but depending on if you make decisions in wisdom, it could get you here. Premature death. You were supposed to get here, your appointed time, but based on my decisions, it stopped me here. Is this making sense? You don't just randomly choose who you're going to marry. You don't just randomly choose who you're going to go in business with. This has to be something that has destiny in mind. Okay? Because I understand whatever I do today is going to affect tomorrow. Destiny is discovered daily. 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 Before this sanctuary was filled, Torrance, Sister Tracy, Keisha, my wife could tell you, I would come up here by myself. And I saw you in 2018 when it was empty. Destiny is cultivated daily. When you leave here, whatever results you want is going to be cultivated daily. And what I don't want is for us to be people who die before our time due to your decisions. Because there was an appointed time. There's an appointed time for all of us to die. But to the best of our capability, God give me wisdom so that just like this text tells me, I do not make decisions. And I'm not living foolish that will cause for me to die before my time. Remember this, God has a cadence, but hell has a cycle. This is so powerful, y'all. God has a cadence. You develop a cadence. In all your ways, you acknowledge me. Let that be your cadence. So you develop a pattern that before I say yes, I'm going to pray on it. I'm going to pray on it. In all your ways, I'm going to seek him. That's my cadence. That's my cadence. Forsake not the fellowship of the unashamed. Forsake not the fellowship of the believers. That's coming to church. That's community. That's my cadence. That's my pattern. I'm going to pray, fast, repeat. I'm going to pray, fast, repeat. Whatever it is that God is calling you to, I got to develop my cadence because God has a cadence, but hell has a cycle. And here's the thing. When you really understand what you're called to do, you will care less about people who don't like you. Can I help us out? You know why it's so hard for some of us to accept that people don't like you? Because you haven't understood your assignment yet. Because when you understand your destiny, you're going to say no a lot. Hey, Jerry, I just hit you up. You want to have brunch today, Sunday at 10 o'clock? No. It's not even an option. You know why? I got to be here. If I didn't have to be here, I might say yes. You want to come through? No. Why? I got choir rehearsal. When you don't know what you're supposed to do, you'll end up saying yes to things that you're not supposed to do. You see, it's not legalism. It's purpose awareness. Does this make sense? It's his destiny awareness. Like it's the holiness of no. Holy means to be separate. So my destiny has separated me from always telling you yes. When I know what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to tell people no a lot. And it's not nothing on personal. It's just purposeful. David puts it this way in Psalms 90. Psalms 90, verse 12. He says, so teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. I was reading that over and over Tuesday night. Teach us to number our days. And he connects it with that we may gain a heart of wisdom. And what I do many times, I learned this in seminary. I like reading scriptures backwards. They make sense to me when I do that. Okay. That we may gain a heart of wisdom. Teach me to number my days. My heart of wisdom helps me to number my day. Without wisdom, I won't remember each day is numbered. But when I have wisdom, I'll know each and every day I got is critical because of my time. Now remember, I'm in time to do something with my time. And so now that I know I'm in time to do something with my time, give me a heart of wisdom so I can measure my time. I want to talk to you. You got 20 minutes. That's what I'm thinking in my mind. You got 20 minutes. Is that being mean to you? No. It's I know what else I have to do with my time. And so now I'm trying to get us to really get this. Time is your greatest commodity. It's your greatest asset. Has anybody else arrived to this place? Wasting time, wasting my time is a form of disrespect. Yes. Anybody there, or is it just me? Like somebody coming in my life, playing games, playing with my emotions, and wasting my time, that's disrespectful, bruh. Me coming up here, giving you a half-studied, half-prepared, redundant, recycled message that I plagiarized off Google, that's wasting your time. I want to hear Rhema. I want to hear something from God. Me not being intentional with being a better me is wasting my own time. Oh, this is going to hurt right here. Some of us are in relational context that you know is not God's will and you know it's unhealthy, but you don't want to start over because you view it as you wasted time. I don't want to start over. We've been dating 4 or 5 years. We live together. My whole family, we have all these pictures posted and I don't want to start over. I know it's unhealthy. I know it's toxic. I know it's not God's will, but I've invested so much time. So I'd rather deal with what is not God's will than the embarrassment of saying that was just a waste of time. Oh, if I can help somebody, it's not even my notes. God just giving this to me. If I could just help somebody, loving them harder won't make them change. It won't. Not at all. All it will do is continue to cause yourself to make excuses for you trying to do a God job. God changes people, not you. It's so hard. It's because it's a God job. All right. Let me get to my notes. I'm done. Give you 4 points and we're done and you can enjoy your day. But there's this confession that I want us to say. Can I get all of us to say this? Father, help me to remove anything in my life that's assisting me in wasting my time. I will not waste my life. One more time. Father, help me to remove anything in my life that's assisting me in wasting time. I will not waste my life. That's it. That's it. Waste a day, you waste a week. Waste a week, you waste a month. Waste a month, you waste a year. Waste a year, you waste your life. And the subtle warfare strategy of the enemy on how he gets a lot of us to waste our life is cycles. You think it's the cycle of addiction. You think it's the cycle of a substance abuse. It's a cycle of wasting your time. Cycle of wasting your time. And what God has been trying to get us to understand with this whole series, I gave you a destiny, so have wisdom with your decisions. And as we end this series, I want you to understand you're on borrowed time. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. Procrastination, I've said it so many times, is the graveyard of unexperienced blessings that are eulogized by your excuses. I got tomorrow. So these points, I want us to see. The reason this is so passionate for me is because I have a biblical perspective. I recognize what you do in your lifetime will affect your afterlife placement. Did y'all hear me? What you do in your lifetime will affect your afterlife placement. So point number one, okay, how do I get to a place where I stop wasting my time? Knowing your why. That's number one, all day. How do I stop wasting my time? What's your why? Your why is going to strengthen your no. Your why is going to callous your heart to people pleasing. God already gave me a series for September. After we get done with extra strategies, I'm doing a series up until October dealing with people pleasing, period. Because too many of us care what people think. Can I tell y'all something? I was on this leadership podcast a few days ago, and they were asking about the ministry and when you started, how did you stay motivated, and how did you, still continue to push when you had 5 views and 50 views? And I told them, I said, back in 2014, there was no such thing as impressions. They weren't like analytics, not like how they are now. You reached 100 counts today. And I said, I was faithful being blind. And I think what helped me is I never really knew what God was doing with the reach of it. I just knew what God was doing in me. This makes sense? I think a lot of people, you judge your effectiveness based on numerical data. So you're judging your God-given work or off a numerical impression. I'm not that effective because I only had this many people watch it. I didn't have that. All I had was post, work on the next one, post, work on the next one, post, work on the next one. I was shocked when it took off. Maybe the beauty of being faithful is when you have your eye focused on heaven, you're not questioning yourself because it echoes. This makes sense? I can't stick with anything because I'm not looking at heaven, I'm looking at likes. I'm not looking at you for confirmation. I'm looking at you for affirmation. Knowing your why, it strengthens your no. Point number two, the establishment of spiritual disciplines. For anybody who has been struggling with wasting time, these 2 points are game changers for you. Knowing your why and the establishment of spiritual disciplines. That's prayer, that's serving. The fastest way to get God to move on your behalf is by serving somebody else. Stop with this, I'm going to do this when I get right. When I get right here. No, do it now. It's a water to wine process. While you're carrying the water, somehow you just transition into wine. Does that make sense? Your spiritual disciplines. A lot of us waste time because you have no spiritual discipline. No prayer, no devotion, no reading time. I don't know what to pray. Watch the local news tonight. You'll stay in prayer 30 minutes. Serious. This is how I started to have a prayer life. When I would say that, I didn't know how to pray. Watch the news. Okay, I'm going to pray for that gun shoot. I'm going to pray for that domestic violence. And that's how I learned. Spiritual disciplines. Number 3, I like this one. How do I end up not wasting my time? The reciprocity test. The reciprocity test. Now, for clarity, I'm not talking about bearing each other's burdens. Okay? We're supposed to do that. I broke that down. What is a burden? It is like a wrecking ball event. Your brother's house catch on fire. He calls and tells you, can I stay with you tonight? That's bearing a burden. We bear each other's burdens, but everybody carries their own load. That's your backpack. So if you spent $200 on a TV or $200 on some shoes and you're saying, can you catch me this month? No. Does that make sense? So I'm not talking about that. But the reciprocity test is to make sure I'm being filled the same way I'm pouring. I like this. Am I wasting time on them? Okay, is there a reciprocity sequence here? Even God likes reciprocity. Draw to me, and I'll draw to you. It's the principle of sowing and reaping. Biblical all day. If I have any relational context with a person and they're taking more withdrawals than a deposit, that's not a friendship. That's not a partnership. That's a parasite. Am I wasting my time? What's the reciprocity level? Are you always pouring? Are they always pouring? Or is it I pour, they pour. I pour, they pour. So when you test reciprocity, I learned this from Joseph. When his brothers came back in his life, he didn't just accept them immediately. He tested them first. Why? I need to see if you're the same person. Because I'm sorry does not mean you've changed. All right? Last one I revealed in this series. The way to recognize God has said yes is followed by favor, peace, and provision. Favor, peace, and provision. How do I stop wasting my time? What's your why? Work that. Work your why. Establish spiritual disciplines that keeps you fresh. We talked about that last week. Remember that, the catfish in your life? The reciprocity test. What are areas in my life that aren't fountains, but they're drains? And that's not judging. That's knowing how to value your time. Time is your greatest currency. It's not expensive, it's priceless. And lastly, when it's God's hand on it, it'll be followed by favor, peace, and provision. And what the enemy is doing to most of us, he's done it to me before. I'm not too humble to admit I've not fallen before in cycles. But once you recognize this is a pattern, I keep spending 4 hours on social media. This is a pattern. Some of us stop taking your phone to the bathroom. That was yours. It's supposed to be a few minutes, not 40. Time. I'm gonna pray in the morning. First thing you grab is your phone. Don't grab it first. Simple. Small tweaks take you to giant peaks. It's simple. Just don't grab your phone first. Pray. And that could break a cycle of me spending hours on social media, complaining. Make sure you have to write it down. God, I'm gonna say 10 things every day I'm grateful for, to break the pattern of complaining about every situation. Because really you deserve hell and death. Anything outside of that's a blessing. Commitment. I have to be self-motivated, and I have to be disciplined, because sometimes you're not gonna feel like it. God's not gonna stop you. The devil can't stop you. The only person that can stop you is you.